A very good afternoon and a warm welcome in this Friday afternoon. My name is Lirato Mabilisa, and as always, I am never alone. I am with my colleague Nogwazi Dlamini. Also joining me in studio are our sign language interpreter, actually is our sign language interpreter, Nompumelelo Hatebe. Very good afternoon, Nogwazi.
A very good afternoon, Larato, and a very good afternoon to our viewers, and welcome to Home Study on Eswatini TV. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon, and we're hoping that you are ready for some learning.
I hope they are ready for some learning. Speaking of learning, can you please give our viewers today's timetable?
Okay, grade 7s, Form 3s, and Form 5s, this is what your timetable looks like on this Friday afternoon. From 2 p.m. until 2:30 p.m., we have English language for the grade 7s. From 2:30 p.m. until 3:08 p.m., we have religious education for the Form 3s. From 3:08 p.m. until 3:45 p.m., we have science for the Form 3s. From 3:45 p.m. until 4:25 p.m., we have biology for the Form 5s. And the last subject for the day is mathematics for the Form 5s from 4:25 p.m. until 5 p.m.
We also have social media platforms, which are YouTube and Facebook, where we are live from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. Do not forget, as I always say, to click the subscribe button so that whenever we are live, you get a notification. We also have a WhatsApp number where you guys can contact us and send questions which are as relevant as possible. Do not call, text. Please.
Yes, text us any questions that you might have. All right, now let's get on with the show. Grade 7s, up next is your English language lesson with Mr. Temba Dlamini. We will be right back after this.
Hi, my name is Professor Shabang. I am an actor and a TV presenter. Coronavirus is a deadly virus, an invincible enemy killing people all over the world. We are not exempted, but together we can walk through and overcome as a nation. All we need to do is to follow the health precautions. Stay at home, stop the spread, and save lives.
Wash hands now. Wash hands now. Wash hands now. Wash hands now. Hand washing is one of the best ways to keep from getting sick and staying healthy all year long.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
The basic protective measures against the new coronavirus. Wash your hands and thoroughly with soap and water, or use alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain social distancing. Maintain at least 1 meter distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Hands touch many surfaces and can pick viruses. Once contaminated, hands can transfer the virus to your eyes, nose, or mouth. From there, the virus can enter your body and make you sick. Practice respiratory hygiene. Make sure you and the people around you follow good respiratory hygiene. This means covering your mouth and nose with your bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose the used tissue immediately. If you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical help early. Stay home if you feel unwell. Follow the directions of your local health authority. Stay informed and follow advice given by your healthcare provider.
A very good afternoon and welcome back. This is the first subject for today and we are learning English language for grade 7 learners and your teacher is Mr. Themba Lamini. The topic for today is dialogue. A very good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, Lerato. How are you?
I'm alright. How are you today?
No, I'm fine. Thanks. Yes.
Okay.
Fine, yes.
Today's topic is dialogue. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Okay.
Dialogue, yes.
What would you expect the viewer to have learned by the end of the lesson?
Oh, by the way, I expect them to have learned a lot of things, as dialogue is a very important part of our English language. So there are a lot of things we are going to look at today. And then after the lesson, I expect that my viewers at home, my learners, my grade 7s especially, are going to be able to use all the things that we are going to be talking about in order for them to be able to do dialogues well and properly.
Okay,
Yes,
well explained.
yes.
Without further ado, you may continue with your lesson.
All right. Thank you very much, Lerato. May I take this opportunity to greet my grade 7s back at home? And let me welcome you to our lesson today. As Lerato has just said, we are going to be doing a dialogue. So first and foremost, I want us just to look at why exactly are we supposed to do a dialogue. That is, we want to look at the rationale for us doing the dialogue. So we are saying the importance of doing this lesson, that is the importance for us doing the dialogue, it is to equip learners with the ability to select and appropriately use language in both formal and informal situation. The word appropriate use language is very important here, because when you are having dialogue, you have to be appropriate all the time. And then secondly, it helps pupils know how to better express themselves. It also helps pupils know how to write dialogues effectively. That is very important, how to write dialogues effectively. Here, we are not just writing dialogues, but we want to write dialogues effectively. And lastly, we are saying it is to help learners follow the rules of writing a proper dialogue. When you are doing dialogue, good people, there are rules that you are supposed to follow. You don't just do dialogue anyhow, as it is saying here that there are rules that you are supposed to follow in order for you to have to write a proper dialogue. So we are going to look at all those things. Now, let us look at the objectives here. At the end of this lesson, I expect that you are going to be able to explain or define a dialogue. Remember, you cannot be able to do a dialogue if you do not know what this dialogue itself is. And secondly, I expect that you are supposed to be able to write your own dialogues after this lesson. Obviously, like all the other days, we are going to need our books. Our grade 7 textbooks, pen for writing, pencil, you are going to see how we are going to use them, and an exercise book whereby we are going to be doing these exercises. Now, let us begin by looking at the definition of what a dialogue is. Now, we are saying a dialogue is a conversation or a chat between two or more people. That is very important. We are saying it is a conversation or a chat. That is to say, when you are talking about a conversation, you are talking about when two or more people are discussing or are talking about a certain subject or a certain topic. And then it can be about one subject, or it can be a conversation in which the speakers talk about different things. So in a dialogue, you can have one topic or one subject you are talking about, or there can be many. That is a dialogue. And then normally the dialogue we do here is between two people. That is very important. The dialogues we are going to be doing here is between two people. It's not between more than two people. So basically or specifically, we are going to be looking at a dialogue that is between two people. And then this is very important also, the fact that we should know the different types of dialogues that we are talking about. We have got the first one, which is known as the freestyle dialogue. And secondly, we have got the guided dialogue. Now, before we can continue, I would like us to make a distinction or to differentiate between these two dialogues. Why is a freestyle dialogue called a freestyle, and why is a guided dialogue called a guided dialogue? For instance, if we can just start by looking at the freestyle dialogue, it is known as a freestyle. Why? Because in a freestyle, you are going to be given a subject. For instance, let us say, you are going to be given a subject whereby you are supposed to talk about air pollution. This is the subject here. Why do we say now it is free? We are saying it is free because you are free yourself to choose any subject any topic under this subject and talk about it. For instance, you can decide to say under air pollution, I want to talk about the causes. Still, it is fine. Under air pollution, I want to talk about, say maybe you want to talk about the effects. Still, that is okay. Say maybe you want to say, I want to talk about things which are done by people to reduce the rate of air pollution. You are free to choose amongst these topics under this subject, air pollution. Whereas when it comes to guided composition, good people, in guided composition, there is only one subject. Let us say you are talking about air pollution also in the guided composition. But what is going to be different now here is that you are going to find that you are guided to talk about one topic from the beginning up to the bottom. For instance, you are going to find that under air pollution, you are going to be channeled to talk about what? To talk about the causes from the beginning to the end. So that is the difference between a freestyle dialogue and a guided dialogue. Now I'm going to show you structures or shapes of a guided dialogue and a freestyle dialogue, so that when you come across a test, maybe back at school or in the exam, you can be able to quickly identify to say, this is a guided dialogue, this is a freestyle dialogue. One thing is similar between the two dialogues is that the rules for writing both dialogues are similar. It doesn't mean that when you are doing a freestyle dialogue, you are going to have specific rules just for a freestyle style dialogue, and when you are doing a guided, you are going to have specific rules. No, the rules apply on both dialogues. And then I want us to look at this one that follows. This one here is an example, good people, of a freestyle dialogue. It says, here's the beginning of a dialogue between two children about air pollution in Swaziland. So it talks about two children are talking about air pollution in Swaziland. Now, as I said earlier on, the subject is there, it's air pollution. But now, when you are doing the dialogue here, you can choose whichever topic to write on. It can be the causes, you can write about the causes. It can be the effects, you can write about the effects. It can be about things to reduce air pollution. You are free to choose. You are free to choose. So this is just the structure. This is just the shape. And then when you look at the following one, still it says here is the beginning of a dialogue between two children about air pollution in Swaziland. Now, when you look at this one, you are going to find that there are gaps whereby one speaker is not writing anything. So it means it is you who is supposed to fill up there. The difference here is that you are going to find that now you are channeled to write about what is written on the top or in the question statement here. For instance, this one is saying, "Hey pal, I understand why there is climate change." It means, therefore, in this dialogue, you are going to be concentrating only on the what? On the causes. So this is to say, therefore, here you have been given only you are doing only the causes here, and you are not doing everything you can think of. So it means, therefore, here you are doing one subject. You are guided. Let us go to Lerato. She has something to say.
So before you continue with
Yes.
your lesson, can
Yes.
you please take a breather?
All right.
Let's take a quick infomercial. We'll be back after the infomercial.
All right. No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Viewer at home, let's take a quick infomercial. We'll be back after this.
Ligciwane le-corona lincane kakhulu, angeke ulibone ngemehlo enyama. Kuze liphile lidinga kunamathela kubantu. Leli gciwane lingena melula emphumulweni, emlonyeni kanye nasemehlweni. Ligciwane le-corona alikhethi, lingesuka kithi thine bantfwana liye kubatali kanye nabothishela. Lisengesuka kubo litekithi. Indlela yekulimisa leli gciwane kulivimba kuthi lisuke kulomunye liye kulomunye. Uma umuntu athimula noma akhwehlela, leli gciwane lihamba kanye nalamathonsi laphuma kuloyo muntu. Uma uthinta lapho athimulele noma akhwehlelele khona, uyalibutha leli gciwane. Uma ke uthinta impumulo, umlomo noma emehlo, livele lingene kuwe. Ngakho ke umthetho wokuqala, umthetho lomkhulu, geza tandla takho ngemanti lagijimako nangensipho njalo njalo. Uma uthimula, thimulela engcoseni yakho. Ungaqala ufake imino emphumulweni. Dikhweshise kulabanye abantu ngesigaba lesiyimitha. Kepha lokusebenta kangcono kakhulu, uhlala ekhaya. Uma sihlala emakhaya, leli gciwane alikhoni kuhamba.
Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane le-corona.
Welcome back, viewers. This is still English language with Mr. Themba Dlamini, and the topic is dialogue. Mr. Themba, you may continue with your English language lesson.
Thank you, Lerato. Before we went for the short break, we were looking at the shape or the structure of a guided dialogue, and then we said in a guided dialogue, you are going to be guided throughout the dialogue. So you are not going to be able to change the subject as you please, like you do in a freestyle dialogue. So here you are guided throughout. For instance, we're saying here you are made to talk about the causes. You can never be able to change the way you want to change and maybe talk about the effects or the things people should do to reduce air pollution. And then still here is the same shape. So once you seal these gaps here in the exam, you should know that this is a guided composition. Now I want us to look at this example of a dialogue which we are going to read together. Remember, I said earlier on, as we are doing this dialogues, we are going to follow certain rules which we are going to use to make or to produce proper and appropriate dialogues following language which is acceptable wherever you are. The first thing you do, as you can see, I've put this information here in brackets. This information here is very important. We normally call it the question statement. So before you can do any dialogue, people, make sure you read this question statement. In this question statement, you are going to find about three things which are very important, which are going to channel you into writing and producing proper dialogues. Let us read first the question statement. It says, two friends, Awake and Ikeli, are talking about soccer, about a soccer match they were watching the day before. Now, what are these things that we are picking from this one? So this is the first and most important rule when you are doing dialogue. This is to say, good people, first, when you are reading this one here, make sure that you always look or you always find who your audience is. In this case, when we are talking about audience, we are talking about the person whom you are talking with in the dialogue. It's unlike when you are having a debate. The audience is those people who are sitting down there listening to your arguments. But in this case, the audience is the person whom you are talking with. Once you are able, good people, to identify who your audience is, this is going to help you be able to also choose the language you are going to use as you are doing the dialogue. And then lastly, here you are also going to find the subject which you are going to be writing on here. For instance, when you are looking here, the audience here is two friends. It means this dialogue is going to be between two friends who are of the same age, maybe, who are, in this case, it's Celi and Awake. And it means, therefore, if they are friends, we are now able to choose the language. So the language here is going to be relaxed as opposed to being more formal because they are friends. And then also the subject is they are talking about what? A soccer match which they were watching the day before. The other rules we are going to be treating as we continue with the dialogue, but these ones are the most important. First, know the audience. The audience is going to help you know your language. Language is going to be, you are also going to be able to identify the subject. Let us read this dialogue together. Awake, hey Celi, how are you, pal? Hey, our boy, I'm okay, buddy. Hope you are okay too. Awake, you know, I couldn't sleep at night thinking about the game between Babane Swallows and Babane Highlanders. This game was a marvel to watch. It was my first time seeing Somhlolo National Stadium packed like it was. You could swear that homes were left empty, judging by the numbers there. Celi, say that again, friend. We were packed like sardines, and moving between people was really difficult. Awake? True, friend. Otherwise, how did you find the game to be? Celi? Oh, nice, friend. The game was really entertaining, and perhaps my team, Babane Highlanders, was on top of the game. We were indeed enjoying here. Awake? Yeah, you are right. Swallows didn't play well, but we kept cheering the players, and out of the blue, boom, we scored. Celi, you know, watching my team Go down the drain was heartbreaking. I will never forget this day. We were supposed to win this game. Okay? This happens in the game of soccer, friend. You just need to get used to it. It was nice chatting with you, buddy. Later. Really? I can see you are over the moon, friend. Anyway, later, boy. Now, from the dialogue that we have just done, which other rules do you think we did apply as we were reading it here? So it is going to be easy. We are going to be looking at the rules which I want you to always follow when you are doing dialogue, so that at the end of the day, you can produce good dialogues. The first one, we've just talked about it, as I mentioned the other side, that this one is very important. It says, identify the keywords from the question statement, and this will help you know your audience, your subject, and your purpose. Remember, we said with the audience, it is going to help you be able to also identify the language which you are going to use. And then the second one is, use language suitable to the relationship you have with the person. For example, friends can speak casually, I like this one, casually, with the use of informal language. But when you talk with your teacher, you are going to be more formal. And then your dialogue should include more than one speaker. If we can go back to the dialogue, you can see that this dialogue is between two speakers. That is, it's between Awake and Celi. And then also the audience, we have identified it, and also the language and the subject. Let us move on to look at other rules. It says the speakers should take turns to speak and reply. That is very important, good people. When you are speaking in a dialogue, you can never all speak at once. You have to give each other turns to speak. So for your dialogue to be proper, make sure that one speaker speaks, the other one listens. When the other speaker is done talking, then that is when the other speaker can start talking. Don't talk all at once. And then this one also, we did talk about it last week, whereby we said you can also use figurative language or figures of speech to spice up or to add flavor into your writings. It can be dialogues, it can be whatsoever. So here in this dialogue here, you can see that a lot of idioms have been used. Over the moon have been used here, meaning the friend is very happy. To go down the drain has been also used. So you can see that it is also important that as you write dialogues, make sure that you also use figures of speech. They make your dialogue to be good to read. And then the next one is, remember, this is spoken language. So use informal language such as contractions, e.g. can't instead of cannot, wouldn't instead of would not, and also use slang such as hey, what's up, buddy, pal, etc. Now, if you can go back to the dialogue, you are going to see what I'm talking about here. You can see that these two boys here, well, as they were doing the dialogue, one, they were using informal language. Here is informal language, and this one, the informal language, good people, let me emphasize on that part. It is important and only allowed to be used when you are doing dialogue. But when you are doing the other types of text, you are not allowed to use informal language. There are contractions here, such as couldn't. You are allowed to use them here, but when you are writing other texts, don't use them, because you are going to lose a lot of marks. Some are didn't, they are many. So this is to say you are allowed to use contractions when you are doing dialogue. Now, make your dialogue interesting by saying interesting and funny things, This is very important. You can't be serious from the beginning up to the end when you are doing dialogue. Make us laugh at some point in time, but do not lose the meaning by trying to make the other person or the reader of your dialogue laugh. Try always to stick into the meaning. And then speakers should express themselves freely. This is spoken language. So when you are speaking, just tell yourself you are with your friend out there. You are not in the classroom situation. So just speak as you would when you are with your friend going back home. And then always make sure you use most exciting, interesting, emotional, and dramatic words. They make your dialogue to be live and interesting to read. And then always be relevant to the topic and engage or fulfill the task. Let us talk briefly about this one. You have to be relevant. For instance, when we say be relevant, we mean that if they have said maybe talk about a soccer match, and then when you decide to talk about netball, you are out of point. When we say be relevant, try always to treat the subject as and be more clear about what you are talking about. Don't mix the subjects. And then develop your dialogue well. And then develop ideas at appropriate length. These two are more or less the same, because we are saying now, when we say develop your ideas at appropriate length, someone back at home is asking, how many lines is appropriate length? So the answer there is simple. Appropriate length is only when you have said all that you wanted to say at the speaker. It can be 1 line, it can be 2 lines, it can be 3 lines, but the most important thing should be you should have said everything. Do not leave the other person having questions about what you were saying. Your dialogue should show connection between the speeches. And then you have to punctuate your dialogue, as punctuation aids or supports meaning. Make sure that the people who are talking there, they are together. There should be connection between them. That is number 1. Number 2, we also say use correct punctuation. Where there should be a full stop, put the full stop. Where there should be a question mark, put the question mark. Where there should be an exclamation mark, put that there. That is very important. And then the use of correct spelling, grammar, and tenses is very important. When you are using incorrect spelling and incorrect grammar and wrong tenses, it makes your dialogue to be very difficult to read, and you lose the meaning as you read the dialogue. And then use your own words. This is very important when you are doing dialogue. Don't be someone else. Just be yourself. Use your own words all the time. Use your own words all the time. I'm emphasizing on that one. Do not be someone else. Now, do not use vernacular language to write your dialogue, but English. So in this case, we are all Eswatini here, we all know, and we speak Siswati. But just for English language, just for dialogue, let us try, good people, to try by all means to use English language when we express ourselves in the dialogue section. Because once you write this dialogue in Siswati, you get nothing for writing in Siswati. So it is important that you try by all means to write using English. And then use of strong language is not allowed. Use of strong language is not allowed. So try by all means to be polite when you are doing dialogue. Now, language used again in social media is strictly prohibited when writing dialogue. Let us just stop using what we use when we are chatting with our friends on WhatsApp and Facebook and whatsoever. Let us use informal or formal language as we are doing the dialogue. Now, this one is very important here. It says, lots of grammatical mistakes and being out of topic makes your dialogue completely difficult to understand, or it complicates meaning. So you have to be careful, good people, all the time when you do your dialogues. Your grammar should be okay. Your punctuation should be okay. Your tenses should be okay. Try, good people, all the time to be careful when you are doing dialogue. Now, let us look at the last part of our lesson today. That is the homework that I've just prepared for you to see if you understood what we were doing here. It says, read the dialogue between Siwakile and Sibongakonke on page 40 on your books to have a feel of what we have talked about. So you just open on page 40, you look at the dialogue, you read the dialogue between Siwakile and Sibongakonke to see how a dialogue is done. And then you turn on page 43, let's write, that is the section is known as let's write, and then you do the dialogue and follow all the rules we have talked about here. So I would be very happy, good people, if you could do that dialogue, and when schools reopen, you submit to your teacher so that they can see what you have done there and correct whatsoever they need to correct there. So let us end it there for today, good people. We are going to continue when we come back next week. Let us go back to Lerato.
Thank you very much, Mr. Temba. But before you leave, the viewer has a question.
All right.
And the question says, can the teacher please repeat the rules or the structure of the dialogue?
The rules or the structure of the dialogue?
Yes, please.
The rules of the structure of the dialogue. Okay, let us just go back a little bit. So I think when she or he says, let us just repeat about the rules, I think he or she wants to know what makes the two different from each other. Mm-hmm. So we said earlier on, the freestyle dialogue, you are going to find that there is a subject at the top. Yes, there is a subject at the top. And then under this subject, you are going to find the person can be able to write on any topic which he or she chooses to write. Whereas when you are looking at the guided, there you are guided to write on the subject that has been given there. You cannot choose for yourself there. I think I've answered the question correct.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Mr. Temba.
Yes.
We're hoping that we're going to see you again very soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Viewers at home, thank you for watching Grade 7s. Up next is the Form 3 learners, and they are going to be taught by teacher Nomfundo Dlamini, and my colleague Nogwazi Dlamini will be back to present to you the religious education lesson for Form 3 learners. Let's not go anywhere. Let us grab a snack. We'll be back after the infomercial.
Why is hand washing with soap effective against COVID-19? The coronavirus is too small to see, but is covered with little spikes that stick tightly to the natural greases on your skin. It gets on your skin by someone with COVID-19 coughing or sneezing nearby you, or by you touching an unclean surface where the virus can stay active for up to several days. But washing hands thoroughly with soap for 20 seconds is highly effective against the virus. Soap loosens the grip of the virus on the skin and destroys the outer layer of the virus, pulling it apart. This means the virus loses its power to infect people. Washing your hands well with soap means you can destroy or remove the virus and wash it away before it has the chance to infect you or your family. By washing hands with soap and water, people protect themselves, their loved ones, family, and the community. By acting together, we can help stop the spread of coronavirus.
Ligciwane le-corona lincane kakhulu, angeke ulibone ngemehlo enyama. Kuze liphile lidzinga kunamathela kubantu. Leli gciwane lingena melula emphumulweni, emlonyeni kanye nasemehlweni. Ligciwane le-corona alikhethi, lingesuka kithi thine bantfwana liye kubatali kanye nabothishela. lisengesuka kubo litekithi. Indlela yekulimisa leli gciwane kulivimba ukuthi lisuke kulomunye liye kulomunye. Uma umuntu athimula noma akhwehlela, leli gciwane lihamba kanye nalamathonsi lapho makuloyo muntu. Uma uthinta lapho athimulele noma akhwehlelele khona, uyalibutha leli gciwane. Uma ke uthinta impumulo, umlomo noma emehlo, livele lingene kuwe. Ngakho ke umthetho wokuqala, umthetho lomkhulu, geza tandla takho ngemanti lagijimako nangensipho njalo njalo. Uma uthimula, thimulela engcoseni yakho. Ungaqala ufake imino empumulweni. Dikhweshise kulabanye abantu ngesigaba lesiyimitha. Kepha lokusebenta kangcono kakhulu, uhlale ekhaya. Uma sihlala emakhaya, leli gciwane alikhoni kuhamba.
Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane le-corona.
Better health, better life.
Better Health, Better Life is a program that speaks across all aspects of human health and wellness.
Uyeta utobuta ngaloko sawukhona ukuchazela. Then ke nase ngiyabe soyafuna ke nehlela sesingakhona ke nokukusita lapho. But vele nje abstinence. Yes.
And these diseases are viruses. We all know that some viruses are not treated.
Yeah.
But you see lapha ema symptoms. So if we treat symptoms, it's not possible to treat the disease.
Youth View and insight to help the youth build a healthy lifestyle.
When it comes to the condom itself, it needs to be used correctly and consistently.
Ama services are available. But the secondary abstinence is possible.
Health Tips is there to maintain and balance your health status, and Street Talks to get ordinary people's opinion in the program. And with your host, Professor Shabangu, bringing you fresh topics every week. It's a new dawn, new season, and fresh topics to keep you healthy, because health is wealth.
Better health is your gateway to better life.
Pay your TV license for being in possession of devices such as television sets, DVDs, VCRs, monitors, and more. You are reminded that payments of TV licenses is due on or before the 31st of December every year. 180 Malangeni per year for individual or business viewership, 300 Malangeni for television trading license, and 50 Malangeni for other devices. You can pay for your TV license through MTN Mobile Money, Eswatini Mobile Imali, NetBank, and Eswatini Telecom. Visit us at the television license offices at the Madlenya House, Babane, or call this number 3434 1234. Pay yours every year.
Labanengi labangenwa ligciwane le-corona bavame kuba netimpawu letingasito letimatima njengebuhlungu bemphimbo, kuphathwa inhloko, kushisa nekubanza, kukhwehlela lokomile, kuphefumula kalukhuni kanye nekudzinwa. Kepha kulabanye kuba matima njengoba leli gciwane lihlasela emaphaphu. Ngesikhathi umtimba ulwa nalo leli gciwane, kwakheka emanti lagcola emaphashini. Emaphaphu ke angagcola emanti akuphefumuleki. Lokhu ke kubanga tingcinamba letinengi. Kuthi khweshisa kulabanye kuyasita ekunciphiseni kwanza kwesifo i-COVID-19. Hlala ekhaya ungahambi. Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane le-corona.
Why is hand washing with soap effective against COVID-19? The coronavirus is too small to see, but is covered with little spikes that stick tightly to the natural greases on your skin. It gets on your skin by someone with COVID-19 coughing or sneezing nearby you, or by you touching an unclean surface where the virus can stay active for up to several days. But washing hands thoroughly with soap for 20 seconds is highly effective against the virus. Soap loosens the grip of the virus on the skin and destroys the outer layer of the virus, pulling it apart. This means the virus loses its power to infect people. Washing your hands well with soap means you can destroy or remove the virus and wash it away before it has the chance to infect you or your family. By washing hands with soap and water, people protect themselves, their loved ones, family, and the community. By acting together, we can help stop the spread of coronavirus.
A very warm welcome back to our viewers and a very good afternoon if you have just joined us. This is Home Study on Eswatini TV. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini and right now we are doing Form 3 Religious Education with Nomfundo Dlamini, who is already with me in the studio. Also joining me in the studio is our sign language interpreter, Tobile Fagute. How are you doing today, Nkos?
I'm good, Dlamini. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you very much. We're doing crime and punishment today. Okay, what are you expecting your Form 3 learner to have learned by the end of the lesson?
Avoid crime at all costs.
All right, that's just about it.
Yes.
Okay, Form 3s, I hope you are ready for your lesson. And of course, a reminder that we are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number. Please, can we begin with our lesson?
Thank you, Nogwazi. Good afternoon, dear learner at home. Today, as we have already said, we are doing crime and punishment. We are going to use our RSV Bible, as always, our Form 3 Book 3, our RE Book 3, as well as our notebooks. We are looking at crime and punishment. Why do we have to look at this? Remember, we said the other time that in our book 3 we are looking at social issues, those issues that are affecting our lives as in our communities, our lives as societies. So we are looking at these social issues. Crime is one of the social issues that we are going to look at. Why do we have to look at crime? Again, we look at crime and punishment in religious education. Remember, we said that life is important and life needs to be protected. So one way of protecting people is protecting them from crime, or one of the things that we can protect people from is crime. Teach people to respect the rules or the laws where we live. In our societies or in our country, we have the judiciary that enforces the laws and protect people's rights. So that is why it is important for us to talk about crime and punishment. Also, we are looking at Christian teachings. So Christianity believes that punishment and forgiveness are important. In fact, punishment and forgiveness go together. You cannot forgive before you punish the offender. So you cannot be punished and not be forgiven. Remember, Christ, our role model, taught that we have to forgive. Also, it is important for us to look at crime and punishment so that we look at how best we can reform criminals, because there is no dustbin for throwing sinners, no dustbin for criminals. So we look at best ways to help these people reform. So that is why it is important for us to look at Christian teachings on crime and punishment. So that is why in this lesson today, we are going to look at different forms of crime and punishment. How people are punished, the types of crimes that people commit. We shall also look at Christian teachings on crime and punishment. So for us to have a a functioning society, we have to eliminate crime. So that is why this lesson is important today. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to define crime, punishment, and sin. You cannot talk about punishment before you talk about crime, and as well as sin, because we are teaching about Christian teachings. We are also you should also be able to describe different types of crime. You should also be able to describe different types of punishment. You should also be able to explain the purpose of punishment or the aim of punishment. Why is it important for people to be punished? And lastly, you should be able to explain Christian teachings on crime and punishment. What does the Bible say about these things? Let's start by looking at the definition of crime, sin, and punishment. What is meant by crime? Crime can be defined as an illegal action that is punishable by law, breaking rules, and you are punishable by law. So that is the definition of crime that we can give. It's an illegal action that can be punishable by law. We can have so many examples of such illegal actions breaking the law. For example, shoplifting, theft, murder, rape, etc. That is crime. And then, what is sin? In this definition, then you should be able to distinguish between crime and sin, given the definition of these two. What is sin? Sin is an action, thought. It's an action or a thought or a way of living that is wrong according to religious law. It's a transgression against God. Crime is breaking the laws of the country or the area in which you live. That is crime. Illegal actions punishable by the law of the country or wherever the country in which you live. But sin, on the other hand, it's an action that is against the teachings of the Bible, against God's will. A thought, when you think of something evil, that is a sin. Yet a thought cannot be a crime. A way of living that is not pleasing God, that is wrong according to the Bible, the teachings of the Holy Bible, that is sin. So that is how sin is different from crime. Crime is punishable by law, whereas sin is wrong in the eyes of God. And then, what is punishment? Punishment is a penalty given to someone who has committed a crime. It's a penalty given to someone who has committed a crime. That is punishment. In most cases, pain has to be inflicted, whether physical or emotional pain. For example, if you do something wrong at school, especially during our time, we used to get corporal punishment. We used to be beaten. That was punishment, inflicting pain so that you stop doing something wrong or to correct a wrong behavior. That is punishment. Or at some other time, it may not be beating, but you are not given something that you want so that you are hurt emotionally. Next time you will know that I must not do this, because if I do this, my mother will not buy me chocolates. That is punishment. Let us look at different types of crime that people can commit. There are personal crimes and there are also property crimes. When we are talking about personal crimes, we are talking about those offenses against a person. So when we are talking about personal crimes, we are talking about offenses against a person. That is personal. So this may lead to physical or mental harm. For example, if you assault somebody, you hurt that person, you may harm that person physically, or kidnap that person, you can harm that person either physically or mentally. And then when we talk of property crime, now we are talking about offenses against property. You steal someone's property. That is a property crime, because that crime that is committed is against property. So now you have denied me, the owner of that property that you have stolen, the right to use my property. For example, if you have a car, you go to Joburg. These are known cases. You go to Johannesburg, you are driving in your own vehicle, and then when you get there, the vehicle is stolen, your property is stolen. That is the same property that you have to use to come back home. So that person has denied you the right to come home or to drive comfortably in your car. Of course, examples of this type of crime is theft, robbery, burglary, and fraud. So those are the type of crime that we have. Let us now move on to look at types of punishment. So now that you have committed those crimes, how do you get punished? Because you cannot just go unpunished if you have committed a crime. We have imprisonment. Imprisonment is when someone is sent to prison, is jailed for an action or a crime committed. That is imprisonment. We also have a payment of a fine. So if you are not taken to prison, you can just pay a fine. This is money paid by an offender for a crime committed. So instead of going to prison, you have committed a fine. So instead of going to prison, you pay a fine. You pay money for the crime that you have committed. For example, on Monday, if you read the newspaper, you will find a list of drunk drivers, and then you are told this person had to pay a fine of about 2,000 emalangeni or face 2 years in prison. So that is the option. Instead of being in prison for 2 years, now you have to pay a fine of 2,000 emalangeni. So that is another type. It's a type of punishment. We also have corporal punishment. I don't know, dear learners, if you still know this one. This is the kind of punishment that we used to get at schools in our own days, whereby you are beaten for a wrong that you have done. So if you don't write your homework, you know that Ms. Lamini will come with her stick and beat you. In that case, you will always write your homework. Or at home, if you don't wash the dishes, your mother will beat you. That is corporal punishment. And then we also have what is called capital punishment. This is a kind of punishment whereby the offender is sentenced to death. So you are put to death for a serious crime that you have committed. Because this one has to be a serious one, not meaning that the other crimes are not serious. They are, but some are more serious than others. Imagine someone who has stolen a pencil and then that person is sentenced to death. Do you think that will be fair? The answer is no. So that punishment will not be befitting the crime that the person, or matching the crime that the person has committed. So this one, it's a punishment that is given to people who have killed a person or people. For example, we have one good example of such a punishment here in Swaziland, that of a man who slaughtered so many women, and that person was sentenced to death. I guess you remember that story of David Simelane. What is the purpose of punishment? Why are people punished? Or what is the aim of punishment? There are so many aims of punishment. One of them is for reforming the offender. How? Punishment should be positive and constructive. Positive and constructive to the criminal. So punishment should give the criminal an opportunity to change from his wrongful behavior to be a good person in the society. So when you are given punishment, that punishment should allow you to change, which brings us to the question of, is capital punishment a good type of punishment if the offender is killed? So the purpose is to reform. So you are punished so that you behave better, you are made a better person to be able to live with other people in the society. Another aim of punishment is retribution. What is that? In this kind of punishment, the offender is punished in a way that the offender will realize that what he or she did was wrong, and realize the consequences of his or her actions. So you are given a punishment that will enable you to realize your mistakes, the effects of your mistakes, as well as the consequences of your actions. That is retribution. So you punish the person not harshly, not out of love, but you punish the person because you want the person to realize the consequences of his or her actions. Another purpose of punishment is deterrence. What is meant by deterrence? This simply means that you want people to have or to exhibit proper behavior. So they will see that if I break the law in this way, these are the consequences that may come my way. So in that way, these people will not wish to do that action that will lead them to that kind of punishment. So this is simply meant to enforce proper behavior by preventing or stopping people from committing a crime. That is deterrence. So you make sure that, for example, if all people who break the law, let me give this example at school. If all latecomers are punished, what will everyone do the next day? Everyone will come to school on time. Why? Because they want to prevent punishment. So that is another purpose or aim of punishment. If people know that if I break this law, if I commit this crime, I am going to be punished, what will people do? People will stop doing crime because people don't want to be punished. So that is deterrence. Another purpose or aim of punishment is reparation. This is when a criminal is given an opportunity, is given a punishment, then is given an opportunity to replace what was lost during the crime that was committed, or to put right what was broken during the time when the crime was committed. So this is another aim or purpose of punishment. So someone is given a punishment, is punished so that that person may repair or put back to shape or to place whatever damage their crime has caused. So you make up for the damage caused by your crime. So that is a purpose of punishment. Another purpose of punishment is protection. Imagine if we're living in a world where people do as they pleased, destroy people's properties as they pleased, people rape children and women as they pleased, and there was no one to do something or anything about it. What will happen? So people will keep on doing those things, stealing people's cars, stealing people's properties, because nothing will be done to them. So punishment aims to protect people in their society, to protect the society from criminals. If people know that for every crime they will be punished, less people will be doing crime. Less people will be involved in crimes, because they know that if they do this, then they are going to be punished. In that way, the society is protected from criminals. What does Christianity teach then about crime and punishment? It is important for us to look at the Bible, the teachings of the Bible on crime and punishment. We are looking at Christian teachings. Remember, we looked at Christian values. So we know that whatever that we do, the Bible has an influence in the lives in which we live. People will always say criminals should be forgiven. That is what Jesus taught. Forgive so that you may be forgiven. Let us look at these teachings. Christianity teaches that people should be punished. People should get punished for every wrong that they do. But the punishment should be equal the loss that the victim has suffered. I made an example of this one earlier on when I was talking about capital punishment. I gave an example of someone stealing a pencil, and then the person has to is sentenced to death. Is that punishment equal the loss that the victim suffered? The answer, dear Lena, is no. So Christianity is against that. Christianity says no. As much as the person has done wrong, but let us try not to be harsh to the person, as he or she also is an image of God. So let us try to be fair to that individual. We are going to punish the person because we want to eliminate this bad behavior of stealing. But we have to give the person a chance to do what? To reform or to pay back what the person has stolen. So the punishment that we'll give should be equal the loss that the victim has suffered. You have stolen someone's pencil, you are punished so that you pay back what you have stolen. The book of Leviticus 24 verse 19 says, when a man causes a disfigurement in his neighbor, and has as has done it shall be done to him. So what you have done to the other person should be done to you. The verse 20 continues to say, fracture for fracture, eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. As this man has disfigured a man, he shall be disfigured. So it should be done to you as you have done to the other person. So if that is what the book of Leviticus says. If you have taken someone's eye, then your eye too should be taken. I'm reminded of a saying that is common to most of us, even those of us who do not know where that saying came from. An eye for an eye, so says the law of Moses. So that is what the Bible says. Christianity is against any form of crime. So people are encouraged to obey the laws of the country in which they live, and also to obey God's law. That is found in the book of Romans chapter 13 verse 5. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities. And then it moves on. Everyone should be subject. Everyone should obey the authority or the government in which he or she stays. However, Christians are taught not to judge even sinners or criminals. That is what Jesus taught. In the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 2, it is stated, "Do not judge, or you too shall be judged. For the same way in which you judge people, you shall be judged. In the same measure in which you judge people, that is how you too will be judged." So Christianity discourages that people judge other people. Jesus himself taught that people should be forgiving. So Christians will tell you that you should be forgiving to sinners, because everyone is a sinner. That is what Jesus said in John 8 verse 7. There was this is the story of the woman who was found in an adulterous scandal, and then they wanted to stone this woman. You shall read the story in John 8. And what did Jesus say? "If any of you is without sin, let him be the first one to throw the stone. Let him without sin be the first to cast the stone." That is what other versions will say. So in short, Jesus Christ was saying everyone is a sinner, so we must be forgiving to sinners. And also Jesus Christ went on to teach about forgiveness. He said that forgive so that you too may be forgiven. That is what Christianity teaches when it comes to crime and punishment. To sum up our lesson, we have an assessment exercise, of course. This is some work that I have prepared for you. Explain two Christian teachings on crime and punishment, the teachings that I have just given. The next question, evaluation, says, do you think Christians who commit crime should be forgiven? We are definitely going to give reasons for your answer and show that you have thought about different points of view. That brings us then, dear learners, to the end of our lesson. Remember that we have defined crime, sin, and punishment. We have described the types of punishments. We have described the types of crime. We have explained the purpose of punishment, and we have explained Christian teachings on crime and punishment. That marks the end of our today's lesson.
Thank you very much, Nomfundo, for your lesson, and we're hoping to see you again pretty soon for more RE.
We hope so.
We hope so as well. All right, Form 3s, please do not go anywhere. Up next is your science lesson, and Lerato will be taking you through it. We'll be right back after this.
Akili, 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 akili. Will you wash your hands with me? I want
wash your hands in clean water. Wash your hands, wet them with the water. Wash your hands, now add some soap. Scrub your hands in the soap and water. Scrub above and below between the fingers too. Scrub under your nails and scrub a dub-a-doo. Rinse your hands in water. Rinse them clean, rinse away the soap. Dry your hands and go.
Achille, why do we wash our hands?
To wash away the germs.
Achille, what are germs?
They're like tiny little bugs on your hands and they can make you sick.
But I don't see any germs on my hand.
That's because they're so tiny that you can't even see them.
Oh wow! I want to wash the germs away. Will you wash your hands with me, Achille?
Of course! Wash your hands in clean water. Wash your hands, wet them with the water. Wash your hands, now add some soap. Scrub your hands in the soap and water. Scrub above and below between the fingers too. Scrub under your nails and scrub a dub-a-doo. Rinse your hands in water. Rinse them clean, rinse away the soap. Dry your hands and go. Great job, Haruma! Can you tell me the 4 things we did to wash our hands?
I can try.
1.
Wash our hands with water.
2.
Put soap on our hands.
3.
Scrub our hands all over.
4.
Rinse our hands clean with water.
That's right! You got it! Wash your hands, wash the germs away.
Welcome back from Threes. This is the science lesson with Miss Lindiwe Fagute. My name is Lirato Mabilisa, and also joining me in studio is our sign language interpreter. Actually, our sign language interpreters, Linda Mamba and Zanile Mota. A very good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Lirato.
How are you today?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good. So today's topic is animal nutrition.
Yes.
What did you expect the viewer to have learned by the end of the lesson?
Okay, this lesson, Lerato, it is meant to help us understand that living organisms, they need food. And the food is made by plants. Plants manufacture the food and it is utilized by animals.
Yes.
In doing some activities. One, it is, excuse me, some of the food substances are used to combine with oxygen so as to produce energy, the energy that we need to do work and some other physical activities. It is also used to repair worn out tissues. It is also used for growth.
Okay, it sounds like it's going to be a very interesting lesson. That was very informative. Without wasting any time, you may begin your lesson.
Thank you, Lerato. Excuse me. Let us look at today's objectives, dear learners. Today's objectives, you are expected by the end of the lesson to be able to define nutrition. You're also expected to name, describe, and state the functions of nutrients. You're also expected to name the smallest basic units making up carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And lastly, you are expected to be able to describe a balanced diet. So it is important, dear learner, to know as to what exactly is this nutrition. As you've seen the topic that it has to do with animal nutrition. When we are talking of nutrition, dear learner at home, we are talking about obtaining of food substances by living organisms to sustain life. Obtaining of food substances by living organisms to sustain life. So which means that living organisms which are plants and animals, they need food so as to sustain life. And then there are nutrients that are found in food. The food that we eat, they contain nutrients. What are these nutrients, dear learner at home? These are chemicals required by living organisms to sustain life. And where do we get those chemicals? We get those chemicals from the consumed food substances, from the food substances that we eat. The chemicals that we get from the food substances that we eat, those are nutrients. And we have different types of nutrients, namely carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals, and vitamins. Those are the nutrients that we have. Now, let us move on, dear learners, and look at the functions and sources of the different nutrients. The first nutrient that we are going to look at, it is the carbohydrate. What is this carbohydrate and what do we get from this carbohydrate? So the carbohydrate, its function, it is to provide energy, and that energy, it is required for respiration, growth, reproduction, and movements. How then do cells in our bodies get this energy? The cells in the bodies release this energy by oxidizing carbohydrates. When we're talking of oxidizing carbohydrates, dear learners at home, we are talking about a combination of the carbohydrate with oxygen. Then an example of the carbohydrate, it is glucose. So these carbohydrates that we're talking about, they are found in different food sources, such as rice, wheat, some fruits such as bananas, maize, potatoes, bread, and others. So we also need to know the smallest basic unit making up this carbohydrate that we're talking about. The smallest basic unit, it is glucose. At JC level, it is glucose, and we should know that glucose, it is a monosaccharide, which is the simplest carbohydrate. Carbohydrates, dear learner at home, they have these elements. There is carbon, hydrogen, as well as oxygen. For an example, glucose, which we said it is a monosaccharide, it is a simple carbohydrate. The formula for glucose, it is C6, as you can see, C6, H12O6. As you can see in the formula, there is carbon, which is CH for hydrogen, and O for oxygen. And the ratio of oxygen and hydrogen, it is 2:1. Hydrogen, the ratio is 2, oxygen 1. So 2:1. Hydrogen to oxygen, the ratio is 2:1. Now, we have a diagram here showing us the different sources of carbohydrates. We have this one, which is tapioca. We have bread. We have wheat. We have potatoes. We have rice. And also these pieces of cake. Those, they have carbohydrates in them. So let us move on, dear learner, and look at the second type of nutrient. It's the proteins. Proteins, we need them for growth. We need them to repair injured parts or worn out tissues. We need them for growth, repairing of injured parts, and also for worn out tissues. And the smallest basic unit of proteins, it is the amino acid. So amino acids are smallest basic units of proteins. So we also have sources of these proteins, such as fish. We get proteins from fish, eggs, beans, nuts, and some other dairy products, such as cheese. Get proteins from those. In proteins, dear learners, we have elements such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and in others we also have sulfur as well, depending on the source of food. But then if protein is lacking in your diet, so if there is a deficiency of protein in your body system, then you are likely to suffer from kwashiorkor, a disease which is known as kwashiorkor. The diagram that you see, it is showing us the sources of proteins. As you can see, we have milk, we have chicken, we have fish, we have lean meats, we have eggs, we have cheese, and we have beans. Those are sources of proteins, together with nuts. Those are sources of proteins. And then the diagram that you see right now, dear Lena, it is showing us these small kids which are suffering from that deficiency disease, which is known as kwashiorkor. So if you don't like taking proteins, then you are likely to suffer from kwashiorkor. The next nutrient, dear Lena, it is fat. What do they do? What is the function of fats in our bodies? Fats, they provide and store energy. And what you need to understand is that they have more than double the energy value found in carbohydrates. Remember, we said that carbohydrates, they provide us with energy. But when it comes to fats, there is more energy, more than double the energy that you can find in carbohydrates. And then let us look at these food sources that contain fats. Butter, get fats from butter, margarine, cream, milk, egg yolk, fatty meats, nuts, and vegetable oil. There you can get fats. And then, like carbohydrates, the elements that are found in fats, it's carbon, hydrogen, as well as oxygen. But we need to understand is that the proportions of the carbon, oxygen are different when you compare them to those of carbohydrates. The smallest basic units in fats are the fatty acid and glycerol. The smallest basic units are fatty acids and glycerol. Those are the smallest basic units of fats. Now let us look at this diagram showing us the sources of fats. We mentioned thus cooking oil, we get fats. Nuts, we get fats. Butter, we get fats. This diagram is showing us just food sources containing fats. Now let us move on and look at the fourth nutrient, it's mineral. And these minerals, dear Lena at home, they occur as mineral salts. They occur as mineral salts. For an example, you can have the iodine salt, can have calcium, can have iron. So we have a wide variety of salts, and this variety of salts, they are essential for chemical activities in the body, and also for the construction of certain tissues. They are essential for chemical activities in the body and for the construction of certain tissues. Some examples of minerals include iron and calcium. So we're going to talk about these two. The iron, dear Lena, it is important in the manufacture of a red pigment. The red pigment, we know it is found in the red blood cell, which is found in blood. That red pigment, it is what we call hemoglobin. So the iron is used to make or to manufacture that hemoglobin, which is the red pigment in the red blood cell that is found in blood. Iron, it has several food sources such as cabbage, fresh vegetables, spinach, meat, etc. So we can get iron from these. So if your food lacks iron, your diet lacks iron, you find that in your system, because you haven't been taking much of iron, then you are likely to suffer from anemia. anemia. It is a deficiency disease of iron. And then another mineral salt that we have to talk about, it is the calcium. Calcium, it is found in bones and teeth. It is found in bones and teeth. It is required for what? For healthy teeth, bones, and muscles. Required for healthy teeth, bones, and muscles. So where can we find the calcium? You can find calcium from animal products such as fish, meat, as well as dairy products. Next, we are moving on to vitamins or vitamins, however you pronounce it, as long as you are going to write the correct spelling. These are also necessary for good health and growth. They are only required in very small quantities every day. So you don't need to eat much of this, just small quantity every day. And a lack of these vitamins cause diseases. We have a number of vitamins. For an example, we have vitamin A, B, C, D, and K. We have more, but these some of these we're going to discuss today. So let us look at these food sources containing minerals and vitamins. You can see the fresh vegetables there. You can see tomato, you can see kidney, you can see fish, milk. Those, they have minerals and they also have vitamins. Now let us look at vitamin B. Vitamin B, it is not just a single vitamin. So it is a collection of many different substances, and these different substances, they are called vitamin B group. It includes vitamin B1, B2, and B3. These compounds, they have roles in helping with the process of cell respiration. So we have vitamin B1, which is known as thiamine. Vitamin B1, it is found in eggs, yeast, wheat germ, peanuts, and beans. It is needed for a healthy skin, healthy hair, and nerves. So for your skin, your hair, and nerves, you need to have this vitamin B1. So if it is lacking in your diet, its deficiency can result in a disease which is known as beriberi. It has been underlined. What is this beriberi? It is a disease in which the muscles are weakened, and these may lead to paralysis. So look at this diagram of this person suffering from beriberi. So you're likely to suffer from this disease if your diet lacks vitamin B1. Now let us move on to vitamin B2. Vitamin B2, otherwise known as riboflavin. Riboflavin, it is found in liver, meat, yeast, soya beans, eggs, milk, and kidney. It is essential for healthy growth. A deficiency of vitamin B2 can result in poor growth and dry skin. Poor growth and dry skin. So if there is a deficiency of vitamin B2, you are likely to suffer from this. And then another vitamin B that we have, it is vitamin B3, which is also known as niacin. Niacin, vitamin B3, it is found in meats, liver, kidney, yeast, milk, and eggs. It helps with cell respiration. We know that in our system, respiration is required for what? For energy. As the carbohydrates, the simple carbohydrates are oxidized, that is, respiration energy is produced in the process. So it is essential for that vitamin B3. So a deficiency of vitamin B3 leads to a disease which is known as pellagra. Pellagra is characterized by redness of the skin, soreness of the mouth, and digestive disorders. And these digestive disorders may lead to loss of weight. And this diagram, it is showing us someone suffering from pellagra. So vitamin B3 deficiency may lead to one suffering from pellagra. So the diagram is showing us someone suffering from pellagra. As you can see, the redness on the skin. And then we have vitamin C. This one, it is found in most fruits such as lemon, mango, pawpaw, or carica papaya, that is its scientific name, as well as oranges. So it is needed to make fibers of a material called connective tissues. And that connective tissue, what it does is that it bonds cells together. And the deficiency of vitamin C leads to a disease known as scurvy. So when you're suffering from scurvy, the wounds fail to heal and bleeding occurs in the body, especially in gums. So this diagram that you see in front of you, it is showing us bleeding gums, swollen bleeding gums. So those patient is suffering from scurvy. Next nutrient, it is vitamin D. Vitamin D, it is found in fish, liver, oil, butter, egg yolk, and milk. It helps in the absorption of calcium from the intestines and the deposition of calcium salts in the bones. So as you can see, it means that it is essential for what? For strong bones and teeth. So you need your vitamin D for strong bones and teeth. People, the vitamin D is not found in the sun. So what where it is found in those food sources that I've mentioned. So a deficiency of vitamin D can result in rickets. The diagram, it is showing us someone suffering from rickets since the diet lack vitamin D. The next vitamin, it is vitamin K. Vitamin K, it is found in leafy vegetables and animal products. It helps your blood to clot when you bleed. So when you're wounded, blood is coming out, then a clot has to be formed. So the vitamin K is going to assist in blood clot, in forming the clots. So it helps in clotting of blood. And a deficiency of vitamin K can lead to excessive bleeding and easy bruising. So nothing is going to help your blood to clot if you are lacking vitamin K in your system. Now we are done with the nutrients, dear learner. Now let us look at what is known as a balanced diet. They talk of balanced diet most of the time. You should have a balanced diet. What exactly is this balanced diet? So when you talk of a balanced diet, you're talking of a diet which contains all the main nutrients, including water and roughage. So here we mean that the diet should contain what? Carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals. Those are the nutrients. Those are the main nutrients. And it should also contain what? Water and roughage. And those should be in the correct proportions. Not just having minerals, vitamins. They should be in what? In the correct proportions to do what? To sustain a healthy life. So this is a complete definition of a balanced diet. Diet which contains the main nutrients, and they should be what? They should be water, they should be roughage in the correct proportions to sustain a healthy life. That is what we call balanced diet. So now let us look at some questions to see whether I've understood what we've been discussing. So the first question, it says, Mzozo eats a fatty meal for lunch. Fatty meal, you take note of that. For lunch, which nutrients will increase in Mzuzu's blood after eating the fatty meal in the blood? So we are given options here. We're given the first option being fats, second glucose, that glycerol, and the last one vitamins. So we are expected to choose from these options. So the answer here, which nutrient will be found in his blood after eating the fatty meal in his blood? So which means that digestion has taken place. It means that the proteins, they've been digested to their simplest form. So amongst the option given, we only have glycerol. We know that the smallest basic units of fats, we have what? The fatty acids and glycerol. We don't have fatty acids in amongst the options. So the only option that we can take for that one, it is option C, which is glycerol, because now we're talking about in the blood, meaning that after being absorbed, after being digested and absorbed, we know that digestion, it is what? It is the breaking down of food. So after the fats have been broken down, then we have glycerol in the blood, glycerol in the system, having been absorbed as the simplest unit. So the answer is glycerol for question 1. And then for question 2, suggest a suitable source of proteins for someone who does not eat meat. Suggest a suitable source of someone who does not eat meat. Beans. Could be beans. Could be beans. It could be peanuts. Could be beans. It could be peanuts. And then number 3, the lunch provided in a certain school consists of beans and vegetables. State one main nutrient found in the beans and vegetables. Beans, you know, dear Lena, we have what? We have proteins. Vegetables, we have what? We have minerals. We also have vitamins. So it's up to you to choose, because the question is say mention one. So you can mention any one of these given. And then number 4, last question. Boo is active and healthy, but her body is not growing as fast as other babies. Which nutrient is lacking in Boo-Boo's food, which could make her grow normally? So now we need to take note of the function. Which nutrient is essential for growth? Obviously, it is what? It is proteins. So answer for number 4 is proteins. So now let us look at summarize what we've discussed. We've mentioned, dear Lena, that we have nutrition, which is the obtaining of food substances by living organisms to sustain life. We've defined nutrients, and we said these are chemicals required by living organisms, not just any organism, living organisms to sustain life. And these chemicals are obtained from consumed food substances. If you don't eat, you won't get the nutrients. Consumed, so you need to eat. You need to have those food substances in your system from consumed food substances. So nutrients include carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals, and vitamins. These nutrients, they have different functions in the body. We've mentioned the functions. And we've also mentioned the basic units of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. We said the smallest basic unit of carbohydrates, it is the monosaccharide. Glucose is a monosaccharide. The smallest basic unit for protein, it is the amino acid. Smallest basic units for fats, we have fatty acid and glycerol. And we've also defined a balanced diet, and we've mentioned that it is a diet which contains all the main nutrients. You know the nutrients, we've discussed them, including water and roughage. And these should be in the correct proportions to sustain a healthy life. And that brings us to the end of our lesson today.
Thank you very much for being with us, Ms. Faguta. That was a very interesting lesson. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Loretto.
Okay. Up next is my colleague Nogwazi Dlamini, who is going to be presenting the next Form 5 subject. So Form 5s, do not go anywhere. Nogwazi will be back after this with your biology and mathematics subject. So do not go anywhere. Nogwazi will be back after this.
Hi viewers at home, my name is Professor Shabang. I am the presenter for your favorite health program, Better Health, Better Life. Thank you viewers at home for the calls and the messages, and thank you Eswatini TV for the great platform. Better Health, Better Life Season 4 is coming bigger and better. And now you have a chance to participate by sending a video of your view prior to the next program. On that note, we are appealing to all Emaswati, please stay at home, stop the spread so that we can save lives.
A very warm welcome back to our viewers and a very good afternoon if you have just joined us. This is Home Study on Eswatini TV. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini, and at this moment we are doing Form 5 Biology with Mr. Mduduzi Gininza, who is already with me in the studio. Also joining me in the studio is our sign language interpreter, Zanele Moza. How are you doing, Mr. G?
Good afternoon, Nogwazi. I'm a little bit okay again. Just because of the corona, you know.
Yes.
Currently, we had a very disturbing news that a 17-year-old lost his life because of this. That is very, very painful because to us as teachers, those are the students.
Yes,
we're about to open
definitely.
schools. We're expecting all of them back. So that's the only part I can say I'm not happy.
Yeah,
as we've lost one of us.
Understandably so. I understand today we're doing transport in humans.
Yes, transport in human beings. Yes, yeah.
Okay, what are you expecting your Form 5 learner to have learned by the end of the lesson?
Yes, my learners are expected to understand the whole circulatory system, how actually is the blood circulating inside the body. Yes, that's the gist of it. Then I'll go into details as we go on.
All right.
So my rationale will highlight a lot.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. G. Form 5s, let's hope you are ready for your Transport in Humans lesson. And just a reminder again that we are live on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number. All right, Mr. G, I think you may begin with your lesson.
Thank you, Nogwazi. Good afternoon, learners at home. Here is Mr. G with your biology again. Today we are tackling transport in humans. In short, we are talking about the circulatory system. We have our rationale, which is very, very important of us to understand why are we studying this and where is it really of help to us. The circulatory system will help us understand why sometimes we hear that a particular person has just collapsed. Maybe he was or she was in town on the line waiting for a bus, and all of a sudden you'll see people screaming when they see someone just falling down. What has caused that? The circulatory system, which we are studying today, will help us understand. Also, we're expected to understand and value the importance of having a balanced diet and regularly exercising our bodies. Currently, these days, the Ministry of Health is emphasizing on us exercising regularly. Today, we are going to try and understand why is that of importance. Okay, let us go to our objectives of today's lesson. As learners at home, Form 5s, they are expected to describe the circulatory system. You are expected to describe what we refer to as a double circulation. You are also expected to identify and at the same time describe the whole structure and function of the heart. You are expected to state the functions of the coronary blood vessels. And lastly, learners at home, we are expected to describe coronary heart diseases. Let us go on. Let us start with the blood circulation, which is the circulatory system. What is the circulatory system? This is a system of tubes, which are the blood vessels, with a very important organ. All the organs are important, but I like this one, the heart, and valves that help transport blood around the body. Let's define it again. It is a system of tubes, which are blood vessels, with a pump and valves that transport blood around the body. Okay? So, in short, we have the heart. What is the function of the heart in the circulatory system? It helps in pumping the blood to all parts of the body. I also touched on the blood vessels, which it is the medium through which the blood is transported. There are valves in the heart which ensure that the blood is transported in one direction inside the blood vessels. The blood flows in one direction. Then we will talk about the blood, which is the medium through which the nutrients. I'm lucky that I'm just following my sister who was just teaching about it now, the importance of the nutrients in the body. Then how does the blood help in making sure that those nutrients reaches all the necessary parts or cells of the body? We are also going to talk about how the blood helps there. That is, it is the medium through which nutrients, gases, and waste products are transported. Here is a picture that will help us understand clearly what Mr. G is talking about. We have said the circulatory system, it is a system of pipes, which has a pipe and blood vessels, which helps blood to travel to all parts of the body. Let us look at it pictorially. We have the heart, which is very important. The heart is the one that is going to pump the blood to all the parts of the body, to all the parts of the body. It comes out this way. That is all the parts of the body. This is the rest of the body. Also the blood will from the heart goes to the lungs to get what we refer to as oxygen, and it will become oxygenated in the lungs, and then it is going to come back to the heart, and in the process will then be pumped to the rest of the body. So you can see, learners at home, I have what we refer to as a pulmonary circulation. This is whereby the blood is pumped from the heart and up to the lungs to get oxygen. Through, if you can try to understand this whole word pulmonary, which means we are dealing with the pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein. Hence, we refer to it as a pulmonary circulation. It is a circulation whereby blood is transported to the lungs, where it will get oxygen, and then it will come back to the heart and then transported to the rest of the body. That is what we refer to as a double circulation. Let us go to the next slide. We will come back to this one to explain more. The main function of the circulatory system, it helps to transport substances to and from cells. We know the cell is the basic unit of life. What are the substances? Oxygen, as I've already said, from the lungs to all body cells for a very important process referred to as respiration, which helps us gain energy to do any activity. We also have the nutrients, which we are talking about glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, and vitamins. From small intestines, they will be absorbed to the cells for what? Metabolic processes. We also did talk about the waste products. What are the waste products we are talking about? Urea, carbon monoxide, from the cells after the processes have taken place, from the cells to excretory organs, which are either the kidneys or lungs. Okay? I've touched on the double circulation here. When we are talking about the double circulation, we are saying the blood comes in to the heart and then out to the lungs to get oxygen, and it comes back to the heart again before it is pumped to the rest of the body. It comes back to the heart twice before it goes to the rest of the body. Hence, we refer to this as double circulation. Let us go and discuss more on it. Blood flows through the heart how many times? Twice, for every complete journey around the body. And there are two major circuits, two. That is the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation. I've already discussed it. Let us continue with it. Deoxygenated blood, meaning blood with less oxygen, is pumped at low pressure by the right ventricle through the pulmonary artery to the lungs, then back to the heart as what now? Oxygenated blood. Why? Because in the lungs, it got the oxygen there in the lungs. So it will come back by the pulmonary vein. Hope my learners at home are following. Let's finish our double circulation. The systemic circulation. The blood with oxygen now from the lungs is pumped back. Oxygenated blood is pumped at high pressure by the left ventricle through the aorta to the rest of the body, through the aorta, the biggest artery, to the rest of the body, then back to the heart via a bigger vein, vena cava. That is the systemic circulation. Let me repeat it. Oxygenated blood, that means the blood now is from the lungs to get oxygen. It comes back through the pulmonary vein, down the left atrium, down the left ventricle, and out by the aorta to the rest of the body. The systemic circulation, we are talking about the oxygenated blood now, pumped at high pressure by the left ventricle, which is very muscular, for it to be able to generate a lot of pressure as it transports the blood or pumps the blood to the rest of the body. And then the blood will come back at low pressure now through veins, through the vena cava, back to the heart. Here is what your teacher is talking about. Let us show it with arrows. We can see blood coming through the right atrium by this vein, which is the vena cava. The heart is divided into 4 chambers. That is the right atrium, the left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. That is how the heart is having 4 chambers. So the blood will come in through, let me erase again to show it clearly. Here is our blood through the vena cava coming to the right atrium or auricle. It will go down to the right ventricle, which is another chamber of the heart. And this right ventricle will pump it out to the lungs. We will have our lungs here as I've shown you on the previous slide, where it will get oxygen by the pulmonary. It goes out by the pulmonary artery. Arteries transport blood away from the heart. Then it will come back. Your blood will come back. Please, students, don't be mistaken. Some of you sometimes point here as if the blood comes back there. No, it won't come back through this one. That's your aorta. So it will come back here through the left atrium, down to the left ventricle. If you can notice the walls of these 2 ventricles, the walls of the left ventricle are more muscular. They are more muscular, as I've explained, that these walls help in pumping the blood out through the aorta to the rest of the body, hence the muscularity. We can see the other structures of the heart. We have this side, the tricuspid valve, which prevent backward flow of blood. We have semilunar valves. This side we have the bicuspid valve, which prevent backward flow of blood while it is entering through the left ventricle. Also another semilunar valve here. The function of the valves is to prevent the backflow of blood. Okay, let us continue. I hope we have understood, learners at home. What is the heart? I've already explained. It is a hollow muscular organ located within the chest cavity between the lungs. I've already mentioned that it is made of how many chambers? 4. We have right-hand side, 2 chambers are separated by a septum. The right side is separated from the left-hand side by a septum. And the septum helps prevent blood flowing from one side to the other. Remember, there is oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, so they mustn't mix. 2 upper chambers. I'm sorry, it is written, it's wrong, this one. Learners at home, please take note of that one. This is supposed to be chambers. 2 upper chambers are called what? The atria. They have thin walls. And then we've got 2 lower chambers, which are called ventricles. And I've already mentioned that they have thick walls, although remember that the left-hand side, the left ventricle has got more thick walls than the right-hand side one. So the right atrium will receive deoxygenated blood from the body via the vena cava. The blood with less oxygen will come through the right atrium and it will be pumped into the right ventricle. The right ventricles pumps the deoxygenated blood onto the pulmonary arteries, which will help take it or transport it to the lungs. And the blood will come back into the left atrium. The left atrium will receive oxygenated blood from the lungs via the pulmonary veins. And then it will be pumped into the left ventricle. And this left ventricle, which I've said it is more muscular, pumps this oxygenated blood into the aorta, which will then transport it to the rest of the body. Okay, learners at home, let's continue. Oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood. I'm sure that you've been following, you already understand the two. Blood on the left side of the heart is oxygenated. Why? As it is from the lungs. The heart then pumps the oxygenated blood to all parts of the body. It has got oxygen, remember? That's why we are saying it is oxygenated. So oxygen is used in the process of respiration. And that blood, after undergoing respiration in the cells, will be deoxygenated. Then blood on the right-hand side of the heart is deoxygenated, which means it is without oxygen or less oxygen. Here's a mnemonic that can help you understand it clearly so that during examination time you don't forget. Just remember the name load. Just load. The L from load, this L from load, represents the left, is oxygenated. The O is for oxygenated. I'm sorry, I've pointed the wrong one. We are supposed to say this L represents left, and then this O represents oxygen, which means we are saying left is oxygenated and right is deoxygenated. So please take that one into consideration. It will help you never forget. I've already mentioned that your heart has got valves which prevent backflow of blood, ensuring that blood flows in one direction. We have what we refer to as atrioventricular valves, which are between the atria and ventricles and are held in place by tendons. We have the tricuspid valve, three flaps, which separates the right atrium and the ventricle. We also have the bicuspid valve, two flaps, which separate the left atrium and left ventricle. And then last we have the semilunar valves between the ventricles and the arteries. Okay. As you are seated down there listening to me, I'm sure you can know that you are living because your heart is beating. As it is beating, it is pumping the blood with those particular nutrients, gases that your body needs. For example, we've talked about respiration. Also, at grade 0, you were taught about the 3 types of food, bodybuilding, that's how it started. Bodybuilding, protective, etc., etc. So now, how actually does that happen? It is because your blood is transporting those things. So as it does so, it is pumping. How many times is that happening? Let us try to follow that. The heart is made up of cardiac muscles that contracts and relaxes about 70 times every minute when you are at rest. So the cardiac cycle is one complex sequence of the contraction and the relaxation. This cycle is divided into 3 stages. We have the atrial, please note that one, atr, which means we're dealing with the atria. The atrial systole, when muscles of the atria contract. And then we have the ventricular systole, when the muscles of the ventricles contract. And then lastly we have the general diastole, when the muscles of both the atria and the ventricle relax. I hope you understand, learners. So, as you are hearing your heartbeat, you will feel a looped up sound which is produced. These are heart sounds which are produced by closing of the valves. This can be heard using a certain instrument we refer to as the stethoscope. The loop sound I've talked about is caused by the closing of the anteroventricular valves when the ventricles are contracting. The tube sound is caused by the closing of the semilunar valves when the ventricles does what? Relaxed. Okay? So our heartbeat is affected, or our cardiac output is affected when we do different exercises. The cardiac output is the rate at which blood is pumped out of the heart. It depends on how fast the heart is beating and the volume of blood pumped out with each heartbeat. So now, when we are exercising, whereby you will need more oxygen and glucose, then your heart needs to beat faster. During exercise, the muscles will need more oxygen and glucose for the purpose of respiration. So the brain will send messages. That is coordination and response. As my learners have been following, we've been talking about this in previous lessons. The brain will send messages along nerves to a patch of what? Specialized cells in the right atrium, which we refer to as pacemaker. This causes the heart to beat what? Faster, in order for you to quickly get the oxygen and glucose that you need in your cells. The oxygen and the glucose that you need in your cells for respiration. Okay? Then we have what we refer to as heart diseases. People are dying out there because of suffering from heart diseases. Let us rush through it. This occurs when coronary arteries become blocked. We have fats, which in this case we can refer to as cholesterol. Please, when you go to the shops to buy maybe cooking oil, please, on the nutritional information, read there. Is it written cholesterol free? If it is so, it's free to buy. Otherwise, you are expected to buy maybe olive oil, because that one has got unsaturated fats, not saturated fats, because that one your body can't digest, and it will cause what I'm talking about here. So fats are deposited on the inner walls of the coronary arteries. That is what we refer to as atheroma. That is what we refer to as atheroma. My time is running out. Nogwazi is telling me so on my side. Hence the decreasing the diameter of the lumen. So blood has to be pumped harder in that process. This will result in what we refer to as hypertension. It will result to high blood pressure. The fat deposits also cause the inner walls of the coronary arteries to be rough and uneven. In the process, this is going to cause blood clots to form. That is the process we refer to as thrombosis. Then oxygenated blood cannot get to the heart muscles. And in the process, it will happen, what I've talked about in my rationale, that you will suffer from heart attack or cardiac arrest. Here is the atheroma. You can see here, all the fats have accumulated here. Hence, the blood now will be transported at high pressure. It has to remain smooth like here. No fat deposit for blood to be transported easily. What causes heart diseases? Diet. I've already mentioned that. Let's stop eating fatty foods. Red meat. Even weight. Once you are overweight or obese, you'll put strain to your heart. Smoking. Please stop smoking. Because a smoker is at risk of developing coronary heart diseases up to 4 times higher than a non-smoker. Also, the carbon monoxide in cigarette smoke damages the walls of the arteries, hence encouraging thrombosis. High blood pressure, it causes the heart to work harder. Stress, please, people, let's not stress each other, because also it causes a lot of high blood pressure. Sometimes it is hereditary. It is at home, so you don't have a choice. But training will help. I prepared a question for you as I'm going out now that you need to try and answer at home. Please try to describe the structure of a pulmonary vein. I know, learners, you'll understand that we are dealing with the properties of a vein. State 2 likely causes of heart attacks. I've just discussed that now. Oxygen is carried by the blood to all parts of the body. Then yours is to describe how oxygen is carried in the blood. And then lastly, describe the pathway of blood from the lungs to the kidneys. Please remember here, 4 marks, learners, which means you need to add a little bit of meat from the way you're answering. It is from the lungs, which means it has got oxygen. It's out by the aorta to the kidneys there, whereby it will form arterioles and then form capillaries. And then from the capillaries, diffusion of the oxygen will occur to the tissues. Please take note of that. Let's summarize our lesson before Nogwazi get hard on me. I'm sorry. I've talked about the double circulatory system, which means I'm saying the blood comes to the heart twice before it goes to the rest of the body. The heart, we have explained, it is muscular and is able to pump blood to the rest of the body. And it has got 4 chambers. That is atria, 2 atria, and 2 ventricles. And we also have valves, which helps to prevent backflow of blood. And then we did talk about the heart rate and pulse rate increase during exercise. And then I emphasize the last one. Please stop eating badly so that you won't suffer from heart diseases. May God bless you at home. Thank you for listening to Mr. G. All the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. G. We're hoping your Form 5s actually benefited from that lesson. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful rest of the day.
Thank you. Even my weekend. So.
Oh, yes. Have a beautiful weekend as well. Form 5s, please do not go anywhere. Up next is the last lesson for the day, which is mathematics with Lungelo Malinga. I will be right back with you after this.
Nine bekunene live laseswatini liyatimbandzakanya nemkhankaso welitiko letempilo namhlabuhlangene i-World Health Organization wekugcina tandla tihlantekile ngaso sonke isikhatsi kuvikela kulomkhuhlane lokhona we-coronavirus. Tiningi ke tindlela longatisebentisa kutivikela kuleli gciwane le-coronavirus. Yinye yato lencomekako ukuthi uyisebentise ngaso sonke isikhatsi kugeza tandla ngemanti lahlobile lahambako uphindze usebentise insipho ngaso sonke isikhatsi. Uthathe isikhathi lesinganga 20 seconds kuya ku 40 seconds solo utigezisisa letandla noma ke usebentise isanitizer nangabe emanti angekho dutane nawe. Litiko letempilo likanye namhlabuhlangene liluleka kakhulu sive ukuthi silandzele nati tinyathelo kuze ukuthi tandla tihlale tigcinekile tihlobile ngaso sonke isikhathi. Kumele umandise tandla takho ngemanti lahambako ushikishe insipho etandleni takho. Yenda siciniseko sekuthi ushikisha totimbili tandla ngalokwanele. Sandla sekudla sishikishe ngetulu kwesandla sesencele. Naso sesencele sishikishe sandla sesekudla. Utisebentise totimbili tandla kuze kuthi ugezeke kahle ngalokuphelele. Ushikishe insipho emkhatsini weminwe yakho netandla totimbili. Uchubeke ushikishe ngemuva kweminwe yakho kuto totimbili tandla. Chubeka ushikishe tithupha totimbili shengathi uyatishwila. Usebentise iminwe yakho lesonzelene. Shikisha sandla emkhatsini. Kubomake noma ke labo labanetingalo letinze kufanele bashikishe letingalo kuze kuthi emagciwane langabe ahleti khona nawo akhone kugezeka kahle ngalokuphelele. Utiyakade tandla ngemanti lahambako tesule tome tandla ngetissue noma ke ngendvangu lehlobile. Uphindze usebentise itissue noma indvangu kuvala impompi. Yenda siciniseko sekulahla itissue endzaweni lapho ingeke kube lula khona ukuthi umuntu ayithinze. Nawe ungahlala unetandla letihlobile njalo njalo. Nginxusa onke emaswati ukuthi asukumele etulu. Sihlanganyele kulomkhankaso wekugcina tandla tihlantekile kuze kuthi sitawuvikela lesifo singasingeni kalula sisive. Siphindze sikhutsate bekunene ukuthi nebantwana labancane basitakale basitwe ngilabadzala ukuthi bagezisise tandla tabo tihlale tihlobile. Lokho kube ngumsebenzi wabo labadzala ukuhlala bahlobise abantwana babagezisise tandla kuze kuthi kungabi lula ukuthi bantwana bangenwe ngulomkhuhlane we-coronavirus. Kuhloba kwami yimpilo yami. Siyabonga.
Labanengi labangenwa ligciwane le-corona bavame kuba netimpawu letingasito letimatima njengebuhlungu bemphimbo, kuphathwa inhloko, kushisa nekubandza, kukhwehlela lokomile, kuphefumula kalukhuni kanye nekudzinwa. Kepha kulabanye kuba matima njengoba leli gciwane lihlasela emaphaphu. Ngesikhathi umtimba ulwa nalo leli gciwane, wakheka emanti lagcola emaphashini. Emaphaphu-ke angagcola emanti akuphefumuleki. Lokhu-ke kubanga tingcinamba letinengi. Kuthi kweshisa kulabanye kuyasita ekunciphiseni kwanza kwesifo i-COVID-19. Hlala ekhaya ungahambi. Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane le-corona.
Lona nguLezinkosi indvuna yetempilo. Lamuhla ngiyachubeka ngosata sive sigeze tandla ngemanti lahlobile nesipho. Noma ngiyiphi isipho lekhona ekhaya. Geze tandla takho. Ngasho isitandla takho utigeza yonke indzawo. Wasule tandla bese uthatha lolu sula ngako uvale inkomo. Kuhloba kwami impilo yami. Siyabonga.
When we talk of screening, basically, this is a preventative measure of finding out if there's any problem that may present as a result. So when you screen, you are trying to find out whether it exists or not, the problem. So in our case, the idea of screening is to ensure that everyone does not present with high temperature. So anyone who's presenting with higher temperature than usual is then picked up. And then from then on, you'll then be tested to make sure that you have the virus or not. That is the main difference.
Eswatini sibambisene kulwa nekwanza kweligciwane le-corona.
Welcome back to our viewers and a very good afternoon if you have just joined us. This is Home Study on Eswatini TV. We are doing mathematics right now for the Form 5s with Lungelo Malinga, who is already with me in the studio. Also joining me in the studio is our sign language interpreter, Linda Mamba. Lungelo, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm fine, Gwazi. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you very much. Today we're doing statistics.
Yes, today we are doing statistics and we'll be focusing mainly on cumulative frequency and histograms.
Okay, all right. What are you expecting your Form 5 learner to have learned about statistics at the end of this lesson?
Okay, I expect the learner to be able to construct the cumulative frequency tables both for grouped and ungrouped data. I also expect the learner to be able to find a mean in grouped data. Also to draw the cumulative frequency curve and the histogram.
Okay, all right. Form 5s, I hope you are ready for your lesson. I think you may begin with your lesson, Lungan.
Thank you very much, Waz. Good afternoon, dear learner at home. You may wonder as to why is statistic an important topic. Statistic applies in many fields, such as the medical field. Before any drugs can be prescribed, the scientists need to provide statistically proven results of the effectiveness of the drug before it can be rolled out or given to the people. So they rely on statistical data to be sure that this drug is indeed effective and safe for the people. Okay, so as we have said, that today we are supposed to be able to draw a cumulative frequency curve, and then on the curve we are supposed to identify or determine quartiles, percentiles, and also the median using the curve. And then lastly, we should be able to draw a histogram. A histogram is almost similar to a bar chart, but there are differences, and by the end of today's lesson we should be able to differentiate. To begin our lesson, maybe we can start by looking at the difference between frequency and cumulative frequency. So frequency, that is the number of times data appears, or the number of times an item appears. So that's frequency. And then cumulative frequency is when now you have made a total of the frequency, but now to the limit of the consideration. So also with cumulative frequency, it helps us in determining or identifying the position of the value we are talking about. We will see that shortly once we look at the cumulative frequency tables. So let's look at this given data here. We are told that the frequency table shows data of distribution of marks that were scored by 26 learners in a class. So marks, that's our variable. So this is our variable, and then the number of students, which is also called the frequency. So that is as to the number of students that scored these marks. So if you can take a look here, there were 2 students who scored 30 marks. There were 5 students who scored 70 marks. There were 3 students who scored 90 marks. So the frequency shows us the number of people that obtained this variable. And in this case, the variable, it is the marks. So this is what we call ungrouped data. Because now when we talk about these 4 learners here, we are talking about 4 learners that got 50. But when you talk about group data, that is when you are going to generalize and say learners that scored between 30 and 39, or learners that scored between 70 and 79. That is group data. But ungrouped data, that is when you are being specific that there were so many learners who got this mark. But when we are generalizing or having a number of marks, because when we are saying learners that got between 50 and 59, we are not only talking about 50, not only talking about 53, but it's a combination of all these marks from 50 up to 59. So in that way, the data has been grouped. So now let us, as we are looking at this information here, the table with the learners, the marks that were scored by the learners, and the number of learners that scored those marks, which is the frequency. Now, let us move on to the cumulative frequency. Remember, we said cumulative frequency, it's now the totals when you are trying to sum up the frequencies. When something is cumulative, it means it is accumulating. So cumulative frequency, it is when you are adding the frequencies now. It also helps us to identify the positions that belong to those marks. If you were to put these marks in a distribution, not in a table format, meaning if you were to put these marks in order, either in ascending order or descending order, then the cumulative frequency helps us to identify the positions of those marks. So we start with the 2 students that got 30, and then initially in our cumulative frequency, we start at 0. And then we add the first frequency, which in this case is 2. So 0 plus 2 will then yield us these 2. So in our cumulative frequency, now we have 2. So to move on to the next value of our cumulative frequency, we must add the next number of students, or we must add the next frequency to get the next value in our cumulative frequency. So now that we had 2, we add the next value in our frequency, which is 1, and then 2 plus 1 will then give us 3. And then to move forward, we do the same. To our new frequency, which is 3, now we'll add the next frequency, which is 4, and then we'll get the next cumulative frequency, which is 7. You do that until you get to the last value. And the last value should reflect the total number that you were given in the beginning. You will remember that our example said this is a distribution of marks of 26 learners. So the last value in your cumulative frequency should reflect this value that was given in the beginning. So as we can see here, our last value, it is 26. So to get the 26, you keep on adding the last value of cumulative frequency with the new frequency. That is how you'll get the new value of the cumulative frequency. So now, moving on to the drawing of the cumulative frequency curve. Firstly, we look at the way we draw our curve in the system of axes like this. These are the x-axis, these are the y-axis. What we have in the y-axis or in the vertical axis will be the frequency. So this will be reflected in the vertical axis. And then in the horizontal axis, this will be the cumulative frequency, not just the frequency. This will be the cumulative frequency. And then in the horizontal axis or the x-axis, this will be the variable, what we are talking about. And in this case, we are talking about max. So that is what we'll have in our horizontal axis. And then the vertical axis, remember, it is cumulative frequency, not just frequency. So when we plot, remember when we are plotting, a point consists of two components, the x value of the point and the y value of the point. So the x value of the point, remember, it will be represented by the variable. In this case, the variable, it's the max. And then the y component or the y value of our point will then be represented by the cumulative frequency. So that is how we plot a cumulative frequency curve. And then, so we can go back to our table, our cumulative frequency table, and then the first value or the first variable we have, it's 30, and its cumulative frequency, it's 2. The next value, which is 40, its corresponding cumulative frequency, it's 3. Next value, 50, the corresponding cumulative frequency, it's 7. So when you plot, it means you'll have a point that is 32, another one that is 43, another one that is 57. So that is how we plot. So you'll do this for all the points, and the last one will be 90, 26. So that is how we plot. And then in the system of axis, we have plotted our points here. Remember, when we are drawing graphs of this nature, it is important to follow the scale. And then the graph that we get, the nature of our graph that we get in cumulative frequency, it is called an ogive. So the ogive, it's the way it is shaped. So if you can look at it, we can say it is S-shaped like this. So the graph that you get in a cumulative frequency, it's an ogive. So we have plotted our points 32, 43, 57, and so on until 90, 26. And then you join the points with a freehand, then you will obtain your cumulative frequency curve. So with the cumulative frequency curve, there are a lot of things that we can do. There are a lot of things that we can determine using the cumulative frequency curve. One, we can determine the median using the cumulative frequency curve. All along, from our JC, we only knew that the median can only be calculated and then located in the table. But now, using the curve, you can be able to identify the median. So we will look at that on our next example. So our next example says, the speed of 90 cars that passed a point was recorded. The table summarizes this information. So the variable that we have here, it is the speed of cars. And then the number of the cars that were sampled, it is 90. So here is our table that reflects the results. So this means there were 3 cars that were moving at a speed of between 50 and 60 kilometers an hour. There were 5 cars that were moving at a speed of 130 to 140 kilometers per hour, and so on. So that is what this means. And then cumulative frequency, remember that's when we are adding up the frequencies. So when we look at our table, we can identify that we have got these values here, P, Q, and R. So these are unknown values. So one of the questions will be to determine these values. Now let's look at the questions. First question, find the values of P, Q, and R. Let's go back to the table. The first value P, it is here. So it is cumulative frequency. And remember, we said to get cumulative frequency, you'll add the last value in your cumulative frequency, add it to your frequency. That's how you'll get your new cumulative frequency. So even here, one way of getting the value of P would be adding the last value of the cumulative frequency, which is 38, add it to the new frequency, which is 15, then you'll get P. So the equation that you can form there, it is 38 plus the next frequency, which is 15, is equals to P. So that's one way of determining the value of P. Or another way would be saying the frequency, which is P, when you add the next frequency, the cumulative frequency, which is P, when you add the next frequency, which is 14, you should get 67. So the next equation you can use, it is P plus 14 is equals to 67. And then to get the value of P, transpose the 14 here to get the value of P, sum up the two values. And then value of Q, you add the last value in the cumulative frequency, which is 67. You add it to the Q to get R. And if we look at the equation that we can form here, it will be 67 plus Q is equals to R. And when you look at this equation, we have got two unknowns. One, it is Q. The second one, it is R. There are two unknowns in one equation. So we cannot solve this. So rather, we need to make another equation that will help us to solve this. So what we can do is, we can add the next cumulative frequency, which is R, add the next frequency, which is 5, to get 84. So now the next equation that you will have will be R plus 5 is equals to 84. So to get the value of R, you transpose the 5. So that is how you get the value of R. And once you have the value of R, we'll come back to this equation here and substitute R with the value of R that we got here, which is 73. So this will then be 67 plus Q is equals to 73. And to get the value of Q, we transpose the 67. So that is how we get the three unknown values. So our unknown values will be 53 for P, 12 Q, and then 79 for our R. Okay, the next question, part B, it says draw the cumulative frequency curve. So to draw the cumulative frequency curve, now that you have the values, the value of P, the value of Q, the value of R, Q we said it's 12, R we said it's 73, and then P we said it is, let's look at the value of P. Okay, P it's 53, this one it's 79, P is 53, and then this one it is 53. 79 here, 12 there. So now that you have the values, remember to plot, we said on the x-axis we put the variable. On the x-axis we put the variable. On the y-axis we put the cumulative frequency. So our point is variable, comma, cumulative frequency. And in this case, the data is grouped. So there is no way of saying the group data, comma, the cumulative frequency. So rather what we do is we take the upper bound class. So we take the upper bound of the class, and then that will be our x value. So when we are plotting the points, our x value in the point will be the upper class bound, and then our y value will still be the cumulative frequency. So that is how it differs between plotting a cumulative frequency from group data and ungrouped data. So with group data, we use upper class bound, comma, the cumulative frequency. So that is how we determine our points. So our first point here, it will be the upper class bound, which is 60, and the cumulative frequency 3. Our next point, upper class bound, which is 80, and the cumulative frequency, which is 15. The next one, 138, and so on. So now, once we have thrown the cumulative frequency curve, which is thrown here, once you have thrown the cumulative frequency curve, you then need to use the cumulative frequency curve to answer these questions. So the first one, determine the median speed. Determine the median speed. So when we talk about the median, we said it is half into n plus 1. So here, you are not calculating the median, but you are rather calculating the position of your median. So this is not the median. Whatever value we'll get here is not our median, it is the position of the median. So once we get this value, we'll take the value and go and use it in the curve to get the actual median. So this will be halved into n plus 1, and n being the total cumulative frequency, or the last value in your cumulative frequency. So the last value in our cumulative frequency, it is 90. And remember, we said the last value reflects the total number of variables that were used. And in this case, they said they used 90 cars for this for carrying out this study. So this will be half into 90 plus 1. So half into 91, that will be 45.5. So our median position, it is 45.5. So our median will be found on this position in 45.5. So now, to get the actual median, we'll then go to the frequency curve, and then we go to the horizontal axis where there is 45.5. You draw a straight line where there is 45.5. We'll see that on our next slide. You draw a straight line that is from the 45.5 to the curve, and then from the curve you draw a vertical line, a vertical arrow that will help us to take the reading. And whatever value that is being pointed to by this arrow here, that is then our median. So let's look at the actual median. So our median, from the 45.5, you draw a horizontal line that goes to the curve, and then from the curve you draw an arrow that will help you to locate the median. And our median in this case, it is 105 kilometers per hour. So that is the median speed. The next question, it is find the interquartile range. So now moving on to quartiles, there are two types. The quartiles means that the curve has been divided into 4 equal parts. And then there is the lower quartile, LQ. Then there is the upper quartile, UQ. So the lower quartile will be 1/4 into n. N, we have said it is the total or the last value in your cumulative frequency. And then the UQ, the upper quartile, it will be 3/4 into n. Again, these are not the actual quartiles. These are just positions of the quartiles. So whatever value you get here from the 1/4 times n, it will help us to go back to the curve to locate the actual lower quartile. Whatever value we get here from the 3/4 times n, it is the actual value that will take back to the curve to look for the upper quartile. So now the interquartile range. Now the interquartile range tells us that it is the highest value minus the lowest value. So interquartile range, that is when you are subtracting the lower quartile from the upper quartile. So interquartile range, IQR, is equals to the upper quartile, UQ, minus the lower quartile, LQ. So that is how we determine the interquartile. So now, looking at the lower and the upper quartile, 1/4 times 90, and then that is 22.5. So this is the position of our lower quartile. Upper quartile, 3/4 times 90, that is 67.5. Again, this is the position. And then we go on to the curve to look for the corresponding values of these two values, 22.5 and 67.5. So 67.5, the value that you get there, it is 120. And then the 22.5, the value that you get there, it is 87. So this is our upper quartile, UQ. This is our lower quartile, LQ. And then to get the interquartile range, remember, it's the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. So 120 minus 83, that is 33. So that is our interquartile range. And then the last question, it said, determine the number of cars that were moving at a speed between 120 to 100 and 120 kilometers per hour. So now we no longer look at the vertical axis because the speed, remember, it is on the horizontal axis. So now we go to the horizontal axis and locate 120 kilometers. Also locate 100 kilometers because we want the cars that were moving at these two speeds or between these two speeds. So how many cars were moving at 100 kilometers per hour? There are 38 cars. So the arrow now points at the vertical axis. How many cars were moving at 120 kilometers per hour? There were 67. Again, we read that from the vertical axis. And then the 67 minus 38, you will get 29. So that's the number of cars that were moving at this speed. And to validate our 29, we may go back to the table just to check if our answer is correct. Go back to the table and look at cars that were moving between 100 to 120. 100 and 110, they are 15. And then 110 to 120, they are 14. When you add those two values, you will get the 29. So that is how we get the number of cars that were moving between the two speeds. And lastly, looking at the mean of group data. Mean of group data, remember, when it is ungrouped data, it is the variable multiplied by the frequency. And then the total of that, when you add up all those variables multiplied by frequency, the total of that, you divide it by the total of the frequencies. But now with group data, because there is no one value, you can say 50 times the frequency. What you rather do is, we take the mid value or the midpoint of the two. So to get the midpoint of the two values, we say the lower class bound plus the upper class bound divided by 2, we get the mid class value. So 50 plus 60 divided by 2, it is 55. So that's our midpoint. That's our mid value. And then multiply that mid value with the frequency, we get 165. So this whole column where we are multiplying the mid values by the frequencies, that's the M times F. So we will then add up all these values and divide them by the total of the frequencies. So we do this for all the values. 120 plus 130 divided by 2, it is 125. That's your mid value. Multiply it with the frequency, you will get 1500. And then when you sum up all these values, we get 9335. When you sum up all the frequencies, we get 90. And there is not even a need to sum up the frequencies because we were told initially that there were 90 cars in this study. So now, here is the formula for the mean. So the mean, it will be the sum of the mid value multiplied by the frequencies divided by the sum of the frequencies. And now you add all of them up. And it is very important to show the values. Don't just come up with the sum, the 9335. Show all the values because usually this is up to 4 or 5 marks. So there is no way you can get the 5 marks without providing evidence of your working. So we need to show all these steps. And finally, our speed will be 104 kilometers per hour. And then a histogram is different to a bar chart in this sense. A bar chart, all the bars are equal in width. They are all equal in width. But with the histogram, the widths are different. And in the bar chart, the height of the bars reflect the frequency. But with the histogram, the height of the bars doesn't reflect the frequency, but it is rather the area of the bars that reflects the frequency. So those are the two main differences. And then before we can draw a histogram, you need to determine firstly the width of your bars, and then lastly the height of your bars. Then you will then be able to draw a histogram. So now, to get a width of a histogram, you will take the class size. Remember, this is group data. So we'll take the class size, whether it is from 100 to 130. So the class size, the 130 minus 100, that is 30. Divided by the smallest class size. So you look on your table, what is the smallest class size? And then divide the class size that you are looking for at that point with the smallest. That's how you get your width. And then frequency, the frequency density or the height. The height in this case, remember, we said it doesn't reflect the frequency. So that is why it is not even called a frequency, but rather it is called a frequency density. So now to get the height, we divide the frequency by the width that we got here. So it is important to start with the width before moving on to the height. So now here is our table. Here is our group data. Cars that were moving between 50 to 80 kilometers per hour. Cars that were moving between 140 to 160 kilometers per hour. Now let's look for the smallest class. 140 to 160, that's 20. 130 to 140, that's 10. So here is the smallest class, and it is 10. So class size divided by the smallest. So here 30 divided by 10, that is 3. That's how we get the width. And then the height, it will be the frequency divided by the width, it is 5. And then you do this for all of them, then you will then get your bar chart. So, sorry, your histogram. So now here is our histogram. This is the class of cars that are moving between 50 and 80, 80 and 100, 100 and 115, 115, 130, 130 to 140, and then 140 to 160. So if you want to see the frequency, it means you'll multiply or determine the area of the bus. So the area, length times height, here it is 3 units times 5 units up, that is equals to 15. And the frequency for the first class was 15. So that is it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much, Nogwazi.
Thank you very much, Lungelo, for your lesson. And I actually know for a fact that there's a student who actually benefited from your lesson, and they're saying thank you very much for that. They really did enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We hope that you will have a beautiful weekend.
Same to you. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, viewers back at home, please do not go anywhere. Lerato and myself will be right back after this.
COVID-19 has dealt the entertainment industry a blow so grave, the year 2020 will go down in history as the year the party died.
We just missed out on the Bushfire Festival.
It's really a bad situation. I'm just trying to be optimistic about it.
Now you cannot have a show if it's not to have it for the people.
The social vibe, the getting together, the seeing people, the being away from reality.
We're struggling.
It's been rough. That being taken away from us, that was painful.
This situation is out of our hands.
While it is said human travel is among the biggest spreaders of COVID-19, nothing can spread the virus faster than human crowds. Being a business whose success is measured by the crowds it pulls, the entertainment industry was bound to suffer gravest with the global outbreak of the 2019 coronavirus.
Welcome back to our viewers. That was the last lesson for the day and for the week. What a long week we have had. We're looking forward to the weekend, right?
We are looking forward to the weekend, and I'm sure that the viewers at home are also looking forward to the weekend. It's been a very rough week.
Yes, it has, hey? But a week of learning, rough week or not, learning must be done.
It must be done.
Yes, so just to remind you guys that we are live on YouTube and on Facebook every day, weekday, Monday to Friday from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. And just to remind you guys that you can subscribe on our YouTube page just to get any notifications of when we are live.
We also have a WhatsApp number which pops up from time to time on your screens when we are live, on your screens, on your tablets or on your phones. So you can contact that WhatsApp number by simply texting. Do not call because we might not answer, and please send relevant questions.
Yes, of course. You guys, thank you for tuning in. We hope that you will have a beautiful and safe weekend at home. Catch up on any episodes that you have missed on our YouTube page. So we'll see you on Monday, 2 p.m. sharp.
See you guys on Monday. Bye, guys.
Bye.